back to the Ball Oasis show. Y'all, we would be remiss if we did not start with the news of yesterday. Oh my goodness, Jacob. So let me tell you a story real fast. I was on my way to class. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon. I'd been drained. I'd been in class all day. It was a sluggish afternoon. I get an alert. And over the past few 2, 3 weeks or so, Woj and Shams alerts have been pretty minuscule. They've been about small things. So
Yeah.
it takes me a second to really process what I'm seeing on my phone right now. Say Donovan Mitchell to the Cavs. Like, what in the world? I stopped in my tracks. I think I
Yeah.
audibly gasped. But y'all, Donovan Mitchell was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday afternoon. The saga is over with the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors. He is a Cleveland Cavalier. Jacob, why don't you tell the people the package?
It was Cleveland sent Colin Sexton, Lauren Markkinen, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. The
The
rookie they just
Ochai Agbaji.
the rookie they just drafted, and I think it was three unprotected picks
Mm-hmm.
and I think two pick swaps or three pick swaps
Crazy.
for Donovan Mitchell. So a lot of value in return for him.
Yeah. First impressions of the trade. I really like it for the Cavs, and I know that their team dynamic doesn't really change because Donovan Mitchell is another small guard who
Right.
comes in and is going to be the off guard. Darius Garland is still going to be the point guard, of course. But his mold is the same as Colin Sexton. But of course, we know Donovan Mitchell is a guy who's been an all star and he's been in the playoffs. He's been in those moments and he hasn't really had any injury troubles. So that alone makes him a more viable option for that team than Colin Sexton. So I really like it. Now, I guess we should go over what they gave up. They gave up Colin Sexton, and immediately Utah signed him to a 4-year, $72 million deal,
Right.
effectively kind of keeping him under wraps. And who knows, he could be moved, especially if Utah is trying to bottom out.
Yeah.
But Utah, Utah doesn't really have any plans of winning in the near future. And with Colin Sexton as the best player on your team, you probably won't win a whole lot of games. So they're probably doing good in that aspect. They also pick up Lauri Markkinen, who's been kind of an inconsistent player, but his
Yeah.
role has been inconsistent in the league. He's had different coaches with the Bulls who have changed his role. He's been a spot up shooter. He's been a guy who they've tried to put on the block, and he was all right on the Cavs. He was all right. He wasn't great, but I think his fit was better on the Cavs than it was on the Bulls. We've seen him improve. So
Yeah. I agree.
especially with more opportunity in Utah, I think he could really blossom and his numbers could take a big increase. And then Ochai Agbaji, the 14th overall pick, the rookie out of Kansas, national champion. He is a good defender, good 3-and-D player. I was really high on Ochai Agbaji. I kind of wanted my Portland Trailblazers to just take him at 7 whenever the first few mock drafts came out. But Utah got a good package in return, and alongside those players, they add 3 more unprotected first round picks and the 2 pick swaps, which now puts them up to 13 first round picks
Yeah.
through the 2029 season.
I think Utah, OKC, and San Antonio have the most picks between now and 2029.
Yeah, I saw something that said that they're just going to take turns making picks within
Yeah, I
the
saw
next
that.
like 4 or 5 drafts. It's just going to be them 3. But
Yeah.
yeah, Utah has joined the Wembanyama sweepstakes. They are very much in the hunt, and they have no intentions of winning games anytime soon. Big
Yeah.
trade though. Big. Oh, go ahead, Jacob.
Oh yes, I think they'll get more picks back because I did see a report saying they're still shopping Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, and Bogdanovich. So
Right.
they said they'll probably get even more picks back before training camp or the deadline. Whichever one. Um, I really do think it helps the rebuild off to a good start.
Yeah, their trades, the packages they've gotten in return for guys like Rudy Gobert and now Donovan Mitchell, of course, and even a guy like Patrick Beverly. They got 2 solid players who can come in and immediately kind of help with the tank. They've gotten good returns on their investments, so they're set to have a they'll be a bad team for a little while, but they
Yeah.
their rebuild is well underway at this point. And I expect those guys to be traded in the very near future. From the Cavs' perspective, though, let's look at it from the Cavs' perspective real quick. I'm a guy who's been high on the Cavs over the past, I guess, just the past season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm high on them going into next season, even before they made the Donovan Mitchell trade. But now, the Cavs are scary, man.
Yeah.
And despite they have Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt, two small guards, they really are able to remedy that because they have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, two 7+ footers on the interior. And they've got a guy in Isaac Okoro who will probably start on that team who can really lock down on the perimeter. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. I think any team that Donovan Mitchell is on, he has to have good surrounding defensive talent, and I think the Cavs have a well of that. So I think that'll be fine, and I think the Cavs are going to be incredible this next season. What about you, Jacob?
Yeah, that it really does shake up the East. I think it's multiple teams you can make a case for, even deep playoff runs now. I think the only bad thing about it is the kind of small guard part of it, the defensive part. But like you said, with the interior defense of Allen and Mobley, I think it'll be fine. I really think they'll surprise some people next year. I don't know how much, but I think it'd be a big surprise for them, especially since last year.
Yeah, I expect them to take a step up. The only reason they really missed the playoffs last season was because they had the Jared Allen injury late in the season.
Right.
They were going to be a top 6 seed in the East until he got injured, and they lost a chunk of their interior defense. And of course, they lose the playing games to Brooklyn and Atlanta and ultimately fall out. But I expect them to be a top 6 seed at this point in the Eastern Conference.
I can see that. I can very well see that.
Yeah. So, first impressions, good trade for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Utah gets a good return on investment. So we'll have to see how it plays out, of course, but very, very exciting news that came out yesterday afternoon.
Right. Out of nowhere.
For real. Out of left field. So with that out of the way, we're back with part 4 out of 5, the Power Forward tier list. And let me just start by saying power forward is probably the weakest position in the NBA, depth-wise, in my opinion. My list is not top-heavy at all. And you'll see that. I'm not going to disclose any numbers just yet, but my list, there's a lot of lower level and average starters in my list. I just think power forward is the weakest position. Jacob, do you agree with that, or do you kind of disagree?
I agree with that. After a certain amount, there is a significant drop off. This list was really hard for me to do because it was a lot of role players and just people that they have an impact, but not as big as like the other positions around the league.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's get right into it. Jacob, give me your tier 6.
My tier 6 is like my fringe, or right there. I have Brandon Clark, Danilo Gallinari, Jaden McDaniels, Patrick Williams, Nicholas Batum, Grant Williams, and Kyle Anderson.
Okay. Anybody you want to highlight of those players?
I think Brandon Clark, I will.
Okay.
Because with the Jaren Jackson Jr. injury out for a few months, I think he'll more than likely start at the 4 with Steven Adams at the 5 still. But I don't know. I liked what he did in the playoffs. He didn't have really just big numbers. I think he averaged 10 points maybe. But he was a big part of Memphis, especially in the playoffs. I think he'll play better this year, I believe. Like, he'll move into that average tier if he starts for a while.
Yeah. And like you said, he might be forced to with Jaren Jackson Jr. effectively out until at least Christmas Day.
Right.
Is what it seems like. And like you said, Brandon Clark in the playoffs was great on the offensive glass, second chance points. He was really the catalyst for that on that Grizzlies team. So my tier 6, I have Danilo Gallinari here, who just got injured, who just tore his ACL, unfortunately. Nicholas Batum. I have Grant Williams. Got Brandon Clark here. I have Jared Vanderbilt here. Got Robert Covington, Cam Johnson, and Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams is the guy I wanted to highlight. A lot of people in the NBA realm who watch casually probably don't know who Patrick Williams is. And he was hurt last season. He was hurt He's a guy that Chicago Bulls fans absolutely rave about. They think that Patrick Williams has Kawhi Leonard level potential. He has the same frame of him. He's kind of a 6'8", 6'9" guy with long arms. He's got big hands, and he's a defender. He's a pure defender. He's drawn some tough assignments whenever he's been in. And we saw in, I think it was either game 4 or game 5 of the Milwaukee Bucks series, Patrick Williams had like a 20-plus point game, kind of like a DeAndre Hunter type performance. And he showed a lot of flashes in that game. So I think that he's a guy that could definitely move up on a Bulls team that has to have some sort of defense outside of their guards, and Andre Drummond, who will come off their bench. But Patrick Williams is going to draw tough assignments, and I think it may take some time getting adjusted to it just because he's young. But I think that he'll be a very good defender in the league, and I think that he has maybe not Kawhi Leonard level potential, but
Yeah.
he'll be a solid starter in this league.
Okay.
Outside of that, though, the only other player I kind of thought about maybe putting at tier 5 was a guy like either Jared Vanderbilt or maybe not even Cam Johnson, because Cam Johnson's role is off the bench. I think that he fits best off that bench. But Jared Vanderbilt is a guy who starts, and I just say he's a lower level starter because his numbers production isn't there. But his numbers don't tell the full story with him.
Right.
Constantly getting deflections. He's constantly playing good defense at the rim. Also on a team just like Utah Jazz now, he'll kind of be out of the mix. He won't be seen a lot. So he's a tier 6 for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So tier 6, we had a lot of the same players there.
Right.
Moving up to tier 5, the average starters. I'll go first on this one. I have Kyle Anderson here. I've got Jaden McDaniels. I've got Jay Crowder here. I've got Aaron Gordon. I've got Dorian Finney-Smith. I have PJ Tucker on this to round the average starters out. Okay. And the one that I wanted to highlight here was Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels, another young wing in the league who really, really showed flashes in that Memphis series. He, like Jared Vanderbilt on that Minnesota team, was a long, lengthy defender. The difference with Jaden McDaniels is he can shoot the ball, and he can shoot the ball really, really well. And that's something that the Timberwolves are going to need alongside Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. They need that bailout guy, that guy who can kind of play a role like Seth Curry when it comes to the playoffs, the guy who can bail you out with catch and shoot three-point shooting. And Jaden McDaniels proved in the playoffs that he could be that guy. Along with the defense that he plays, I think that he really has the potential to move up to tier 4 by the end of the season. I've even seen him get some most improved player hype. I don't know if I'm on that wave just yet, but I do think that he will improve, but maybe not a whole lot just because of the firepower on his team, of course.
Right.
But I'm very high on Jaden McDaniels.
Okay. My tier 5, I had Cam Johnson, Jared Vanderbilt, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, and Jay Crowder. And like you said, with Jared Vanderbilt, the numbers don't tell everything.
Right.
The impact he has defensively. Same with Jay Crowder. The numbers really don't show everything, but just the veteran experience and him knocking down shots when you need them, defense. So that are my average starters. And yeah, I think that's it for the people I got highlighted for that tier.
I have a question to ask you about this one.
Okay.
Why is Marcus Morris here for you?
I don't know. I went back and forth with tier 4 and tier 5, just for me. You saw the role he had with LA last year, but now you got Kawhi Leonard coming back, PG coming back. So I think he might, I don't want to say regress, but take a little step back, I guess, because he won't be one of the main guys. And defensively, I think this. Forgot to put this. Just the role he had last year, I guess. I had him at tier 5 last year.
Okay. I'm a Marcus Morris guy. I know that he can be a dirty player,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people forget that just 2 seasons ago, Marcus Morris was a fringe all-star with the New York Knicks. He was averaging over 20 points a game, and he's a guy that on any given night can give you that production.
Right.
Whenever a guy like Paul George or Kawhi Leonard may be struggling, you know who the go-to guy has been? It has been Marcus Morris. He has been the guy that they've gone to.
Yeah.
So just that alone, his scoring ability, and he can play off the ball too. He's got a good mid-range post-up game. He's in my tier 4 just because of that. And like I said, he was an all-star. He was a fringe all-star 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And of
See,
course, his role has lessened, like you said, and that may
right.
be part and why you only have him as an average starter. But I'm a Marcus Morris guy. As weird as it is.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm one of the people that forgot about the fringe all-star a few years ago.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think his role will take a step back. Not really, and even with John Wall now, not a big step back, but he will be that go-to guy if one of those guys is struggling. I do agree with that.
Yeah. Tier 5, we had a lot of the same players there too. This is where we're going to have some differences, though. I already know tier 4, Jacob, quality starters. Give me your tier 4 before I digress on mine.
Like I said, this list was pretty hard. You can kind of move people around. My quality starters, I have Aaron Gordon, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kyle Kuzma, and PJ Tucker.
Okay.
Yeah.
This looks very, very.
I can tell.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. Jacob, I have 8 players on this tier. I have 8 players here.
See, my tier 3 and 4, a lot of the people, few of the players in tier 3, I got it like my sub all-star. I had down, but I mean.
So, I have Kyle Kuzma here. I got Marcus Morris, of course. I've got Tobias Harris on tier 4. I've got Julius Randle here. I've got John Collins. I've got Jeremy Grant. I've got Jaren Jackson Jr. here. And I have Draymond Green rounding out this tier. So there's a lot to unpack here. And let me just tell you why this tier is so populated for me. I tried to think of scenarios where these players could be potentially all-star level players. I really just couldn't do it for any of them.
Right.
I really couldn't. And these are really good players, of course. And I guess the ones who could, kind of be seen the most as all-stars out of these next season would probably be Tobias Harris and John Collins, just because their numbers production would be good. But I don't think that they're all-star. I don't think they're all-star level players with the firepower on their teams now. First player I want to highlight, though, is Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. might have been on my tier 3. He actually might have been an all-star caliber player if he wasn't injured. And that's what I took into account, because he's going to miss probably the first 2 months of the season. So that alone, he'll miss that much time, which won't allow him to be able to be an all-star.
Right.
So he's sent to my quality starter tier, not because of anything with his play. Jaren Jackson Jr., of course, finished top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year. He's a guy who can stretch the floor. We know what he can do. But just the injury really makes him just a quality starter for me.
Yeah, I can see that. He's in my tier 3, so I guess I'll talk about him when we get there.
Yeah. Draymond Green is on my tier 4.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you said him.
Draymond Green is on my tier 4. And I think the days of all-star Draymond are over, just because he's pretty old at this point. And I think that there's kind of a voters fatigue thing with that too, as even though it's been years removed. I think the people are kind of tired of seeing Draymond Green in the All-Star game, just because he doesn't really bring a whole lot of this excitement to the All-Star game.
Right.
Of course, you know what Draymond Green does on the floor, and I'm one of the biggest Draymond Green guys in the world, but I just don't think that his production albeit it be on one of the best teams in the league. Like we saw this past season with the Golden State Warriors. He wasn't an all-star on that team when Andrew Wiggins was named a starter.
Right.
So Draymond Green is a quality starter, but he is a very, very quality starter.
Yeah, that's
Do
why I
not-
couldn't.
I'm not trying to knock him down because I'm one of the biggest Draymond Green guys in the world. But he's a quality starter.
Yeah, that's the reason I couldn't put him in quality, just because what he does with Golden State. Now any other team, you could say that maybe
Mm-hmm.
depends on who's around them, but I couldn't put him in quality.
Yeah. Jacob, one more player who's here that I want to get your opinion on. I want to talk about Tobias Harris. Do you have any objection to me putting Tobias Harris as a quality starter?
I don't.
You could be honest. You can
I
say
don't. He's in my tier 3 just because his usage is going to go down.
it's true.
Obviously, behind
Oh,
he's basically the fourth option, so I can see that the quality part. I'm not the biggest Tobias fan, just because of the contract, but what he does bring though, it does help us a lot. Um, no, I can see quality. I honestly thought about putting him there too,
yeah.
but if he wasn't the fourth option though, you don't know. You kind of could put him at that all-star level, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I do like his game. Like I said, he's just the fourth option behind a young Maxey, Joel, and Harden. So I still had him at the tier 3 though.
Yeah.
Just because I guess that level of play he can bring.
Yeah. And he can be an all-star. We know that he can be that.
Right.
He has been a guy who's been a fringe all-star. And I was making the comparison. As disrespectful on paper as this comparison may sound, Tobias Harris and Marcus Morris are a lot alike.
I can see it.
They really are a lot alike. Their games are a lot alike. And although Marcus Morris is, of course, Tobias Harris is better than Marcus Morris as an overall player. But I think that I was really just thinking about it. There aren't very many differences with them. They average around the same numbers, and they're back and forth on my quality starters list. They're right beside each other. I just found that interesting. I just found that as an interesting little tip.
You could if say his numbers aren't going to be there, I guess. Now some nights they could be, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm back and forth with him. You know how I feel about him. We've talked about it off camera. It's just the contract that he has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he got like a max. I'm not gonna bring it up. But yeah, I think he could definitely be at an all-star level. Just kind of depends on what happens around him, I guess.
Right. Tier 3, all-star caliber. Jacob, you want to take a guess of how many players I have on this tier?
One.
I have one player on this tier. And I'll just go ahead and spill who that is. It's Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam is the only player on my all-star tier. So, Jacob, I want you to go ahead and give your tier 3. And we'll talk about your tier 3.
Yeah, I got a lot more. Like I said, my tier 3 is like my sub all-star, I guess. Like right there. I have Draymond Green. I have Jaren Jackson Jr., Jeremy Grant, John Collins, Julius Randle, and Tobias Harris.
Wow.
Now, it is, I guess they can all play that level. You know, obviously they won't be in the all-star game.
Right.
Because, like we said earlier, after that first few forwards, I guess, kind of drops off.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaren Jackson Jr., the reason I still have him here at the like sub all-star, like you said, the injury, I didn't really just bring that apart because I know how he could be when he gets back and if he's healthy.
Right.
And I'm like one of the biggest Jaren Jackson haters that I know.
Yeah, me too.
But so I really think he could still play at the all-star level when he comes back. Obviously, he won't be able to make the all-star game.
Right.
But
that's fair. That's very fair.
I really do think he will be. But that's the only player. And Julius Randle, I guess I could kind of bring him to quality after last year, but we knew he was like I think most improved player 2 years ago, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just have to see how I guess that plays, but
yeah,
that's the only people I got right there.
Like I said with the last tier, I tried to envision guys in my tier 4 as all-stars, and for some reason, I just couldn't do it.
Right.
Like a guy like Julius Randle, who's been an all-star. That season is an anomaly to me at this point, just because we saw how bad he was last season. And who knows, maybe he gets back to that point with some pressure maybe being taken off of him with Jalen Brunson being on his team now.
Yeah.
But I don't see Julius Randle being an all-star. And one question I had to ask, and Jacob, I want you to be honest with this. Out of all of those 6 players on that tier 3, do you realistically think that all of them have the potential to make the All-Star game?
That's what I'm saying. No, but like the level of play, you could make an argument for a few. Like I said, Tobias, I can move the quality. Randall, John Collins, Jeremy Grant, kind of.
I was
I'm
going
back.
to bring up Jeremy Grant because Jeremy Grant is on my team now, but Jeremy
Right.
not going to be an all-star. If he is, if Jeremy Grant is an all-star, then my team, the Portland Trailblazers, is going to be a top 4 seed in the West. That's the only way that he'll be an all-star, and I don't see Portland being a top 4 seed in the West.
Like I said, I knew he was on Detroit, I believe, so his role would be a lot bigger. It might not be it's not going to be as big in Portland. I think it won't be behind Lillard and Simons, but you're right. You could move a lot of these out of that all-star contention, but okay, realistically, the ones I'll keep, like if I changed it, the ones I'd keep at the all-star, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Wow.
I want to say Draymond Green.
Okay.
Maybe. That might be it. And like I say, I'm not a big fan of Jaren Jackson, but I will appreciate what he does, even though I do talk bad about it a lot. Those 2 might be like close to the all-star. And I think you named your tier 2 player, I'm guessing. Just I kind of know who it is. Just one player.
Only one player.
So you could argue. Oh wait, yeah, I already know who it is. That's mine too.
I want to get into this one. One more thing before we go to tier 2 though. Pascal Siakam was the only player in my tier 3, just because. I think at this point with the Toronto Raptors, I think honestly Scotty Barnes might have a better chance of making All NBA than Pascal Siakam at this point. Is that crazy of me to say?
No, it's not. Siakam's my only tier 2, which I have like the all-star, I guess you could say All NBA. But no, actually I do see that. I'm pretty high on Scotty Barnes. He could definitely be an all-star next year over Siakam. And he honestly could take, I guess, over the best player role, maybe. If not next year, in a few years. No, it's not crazy. It's not crazy to say.
This is just kind of a stigma with me, and it's been for a few years now. Pascal Siakam had a great season last year. He had a really good year.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know what holds me back with him. I'm not really a big believer. And he's a champion at this point. He was a crucial part of a championship team. I honestly have no idea what it is. I guess it's maybe just that his game is not very aesthetically pleasing. Maybe it's just it looks like a struggle for him out there to get his 23 points and his 8 rebounds and his 5 assists. It always looks like he's struggling.
Well, I don't know exactly how tall he is, but they do run him to 5 a lot. Like I think he was their 5 last year, and I'm sure he'll be the 5 again this year too. Because I don't think they got a center or anything.
And part of the reason is he operates from the perimeter, and whenever he's big, he tries to operate in those ISO situations. So just watching Pascal Siakam ISO might be what it is for me.
Maybe.
But I think that's what I attribute most of it to. But still, I recognize that he's a good player. It's just the small part of me that's like, why can't I believe in him?
Yeah. I want to believe it. I do believe in him. But like you said, Scotty Barnes very well could have a better chance.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might just because he's I guess you can call him small five.
Yeah.
I went back and forth with him as well. I don't know I really don't know how to explain it with him
It's
because
tough.
he has his games, but
Definitely does. Let's get into tier 2, Jacob. Your
I'll go
tier
ahead.
give me your tier 2 first.
It was just Siakam, who we just mentioned. He's
Just
like he's just you. Okay, now that
let me preface this. Let me preface this by saying that this is my all NBA caliber tier, and I titled my tier 1. I've been titling my tier 1 the best of the best.
okay,
I didn't title it superstar for a reason, because this guy is a superstar. He's a bona fide superstar. He's my favorite player of all time, but he's in my tier 2. And the reason for that is because there is a gap that exists. There is a gap that exists. And I kind of went back and I thought about our last episode with Jason Tatum being on tier 1 with Kawhi and LeBron. And I was like, because that gap exists, maybe I should have kept him on tier 2. And so that's what I ultimately decided to do right here, just because the guy that I have on tier 2 is a little bit of a step below the guy I have on tier 1.
right.
And that guy on tier 2 is Kevin Durant. Guy on tier 2 is Kevin Durant. And like I said, he's a bona fide superstar. He's my favorite player of all time. He's 33, 34 years old at this point. And the gap between him and the player at number 1, I think you can all guess who that is. The player at number 1 I revere is the best player in the NBA. So that's all I'll say about that right now.
Yeah, I had him in my tier 1. Both of those players in tier 1.
It sounds disrespectful of me not to, the more I say it.
Think about it.
On my tier 2.
Well,
stay on my tier 2.
I know there are some people that argue who, when fully healthy, they could be the same level. Obviously, they wouldn't be. I feel like.
I don't think so.
But I don't think it's.
No.
I don't think it's just that big of a gap, though. Like, it's a gap.
So
There's a gap, obvious gap, but I don't think it's as big as a lot of people say, in my opinion. But because obviously, 2 years ago they played in the playoffs. Everybody knows who it is now, but played in the playoffs and it came down to it. Like, it was real close.
If his shoe was 2 sizes smaller.
But yeah, and obviously it is hard to say that after they did get swept last year in the first round. But there's a gap. I just don't think it's that big. Well, I don't know. It's very it's hard to say, I guess.
Yeah.
There's an obvious gap, but it's kind of your personal, I guess, thought of how far it is, maybe.
Right. Tier 1, the guy we're talking about, if you were just completely out of the loop, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's right. Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Jacob, I'm not gonna lie, that gap is widening. It's not necessarily.
No, it is.
It's not necessarily a big gap. It's the fact that it's widening.
Yes.
Just because Giannis is so good.
Right.
He almost beat the Celtics in the playoffs, the team who eventually went to the finals, without Chris Middleton.
Right. Yeah,
about that.
I have
beat the best team in the Eastern Conference single-handedly.
Yeah, I did put that in there.
He's the best player in the league.
Right.
I think we both agree on that. And what I'll leave with is just what I've said. It's not a big gap necessarily, but the fact that it's widening.
Yeah, see, I can see that.
I have them on 2 different tiers.
Yeah.
Because Giannis is in a league of his own, in my opinion. He's in a league of his own. He can do whatever he wants at this point.
That is true. Now that I do agree with. Like I said, there's a gap, but it is widening. Like right now, it's not. I don't think it's just a big, huge gap, but it is getting close. I will say, especially with KD getting older and dealing with injuries the last few years.
Right.
I don't think Giannis has dealt with any injuries.
No major injuries. No.
Aside, so I think 2 years ago he said his knee in the playoffs or something.
Yeah.
But besides that, he hasn't slowed down any. Yeah, I definitely agree that the gap is getting bigger. But I just think right now might be like another season or two before it really just takes off.
You might be right. I kind of put Kevin Durant on tier 2 also, just because I didn't want to completely vacate tier 2.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to put somebody there. That's part of the reason why I put him there. But Giannis, like we said, is the best player in the league. Kevin Durant is still a top 5 player in the league to me whenever he's healthy, but he's just not on the same tier as Giannis. He's not in my opinion.
Yeah, I just had superstar tier, and I couldn't just put Kevin Durant on the All-Star, All-NBA tier.
Right.
But I mean,
understand.
So, like I said, fully healthy it is, and I don't expect what happened last year with the Nets to happen again. Well, I won't say that right now, but yeah, like you said, it is a gap. It's widening. It's widening. It's not as big as people say, I think, right now, but it is definitely getting there.
Well, this was a fun one, and to close, I think that we can kind of make an assumption. There's a player missing out of the power forwards. Jacob, do you know who that player is? It's your homeboy. It's your guy.
Who?
Ben,
Oh,
Ben Simmons is not listed on the power forwards. So apparently Ben Simmons is listed as a center. So this is going to be extremely difficult to rank Ben Simmons. I'm excited to see how that takes place next episode. We appreciate y'all for watching this one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Keep the viewership running. And we'll close out the series next week and then get into some standings predictions, which I know Jacob is excited out of his mind about.
I don't know what to do with that, especially now.
We'll have a lot of fun stuff planned as the season draws near. All right. Appreciate y'all listening and signing out for now. But always just see y'all later.
See y'all.